Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. You know what? Let me turn off the air conditioning in here, the fan. Really, me? I should have done that before I started. Hi, everyone. Welcome down the rabbit hole. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I'm always worried that I'm speaking and my microphone isn't working. I do have some people working on the house today, so my puppy is in here with me, and I can't promise he won't go crazy because he thinks that those people should be playing with him. And he's extremely angry that they're using a hammer instead. Okay, I just came across some videos that really sparked my interest. I am kind of shocked to see so many people speaking out about this and really claiming that it's the truth. I've heard this rumor before, but now we have several people coming forward and saying that it's true. Allegedly, according to some sources that were very close to Gypsy and Christy, Gypsy told Nick Godejohn, her partner in unaliving her mother, that she was pregnant with his daughter. Okay. For me, this is like a big change to the theory of what happened in that case. All right. It's a big deal if this is true. And we're going to listen to some video evidence about what's going on here. So let me just pull that up for you guys. Give me 1 second. Hi, everyone. Hi, JN. How are you? Thank goodness you can hear me because I'm always messing everything up. All right. Let me find this. My Gypsy. I was pretty shocked when I saw this earlier, and I was like, I have to share it with you guys. Yes, Parawoman Radio. It's not Ryan, her current husband. It's Nick Godejohn, the man with whom she unalived her mother. Okay, so recently Nick went up for an appeal and he lost. This was just last week, I believe. I want to make a video about it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. And quite honestly, it makes me very sad. I'm trying to come to some conclusion about where I want to go with this. But when I saw these videos being posted by people who have interacted with the family before, and more than one of them, it led me down a rabbit hole of investigating it a little bit further. And I'm just hearing a lot of people talking about this new potential allegation that Gypsy told Nick that she was pregnant with his child before the murders took place. And I think this would make a big difference in his state of mind. I mean, I really, if this is true, if this is the case, and we do have Nick out there communicating with people, we have his dad communicating with people, and Nick has said, Nick and his father, Bobby Godejohn, they've both said that there's a lot of evidence that they want to bring forth. There's a lot of new evidence that they want to show everyone. They have not been able to show it because they still want to keep going with the appeals process. Even though he lost his most recent appeal, there's some more work that they're doing with the court system. And we have been told that when it's all over, Nick will finally share his story. And I do have a keen interest in hearing what he has to say. But first, let's start with looking at what people are saying about this new allegation. Hi, Freckleface. Good to see you. Okay. So let's think about how I can organize this for you. There's a woman named Natasha Cooper. Okay, Natasha Cooper is quite popular on TikTok right now. She used to have a YouTube channel, but she's been banned from YouTube. And she also had a Facebook page at one time. She was one of the first people to create a Facebook page about Gypsy Rose, like back in 2018, like back in the day when this all started. She was one of the first people to create a Facebook page about her. Natasha ended up having relationships with all the players in Christy Blanchard's toxic web of YouTube creators. Natasha has interactions with all of them. She has a history when you look her up, and I will be sharing a lot of this in a video that I do specifically about Christy Blanchard. Natasha Cooper has quite an interesting history. She has like somewhat of a criminal background that's been exposed, unfortunately. And, you know, people question certain things about her, but she's also very interesting to listen to. She really brings the tea. And, you know, I really think that there are times that she's come forward with information that no one else has, okay? And Natasha Cooper is the one whose TikTok Gypsy Rose and Ken recently appeared on. So even though there's all this infighting amongst Natasha Cooper and Christy Blanchard, for whatever reason, Gypsy Rose and Ken showed up in Natasha Cooper's TikTok live stream. I don't know how to explain all of that. Once again, a lot of this will be in my video about the toxic web of Christy Blanchard. Hi, Wingbeats, good to see you. But that's kind of a background on Natasha, okay? Then we also have Fancy Maselli. Many of you know about her. I've spoken about her on my channel before. Fancy ends up listening to Natasha Cooper's live stream about this incident, alleging that Gypsy was pregnant or told Nick that she was pregnant with his baby. And Fancy's like, I've been saying this forever. I put this out a long time ago, which is true. This is something that Fancy has been talking about for a while. So now we have several people from this web, Christy Blanchard's web, coming forward and making this allegation that Gypsy Rose told Nick she was pregnant with his daughter. It's quite crazy. Okay, so let's, oh, my little guy's right under me. He wants a pet. Let's take a listen to what they have to say. Let's see. Boston says, you've been listening to Fancy. I have listened to Fancy extensively. I disagree with her heavily about so many things, but now we have several people coming forward and talking about the potential that this is what Gypsy did with Nick. And what I'm hearing is that Bobby Godejohn and Nick have kind of put it out there that this was part of Nick's belief about this case. All right. Now, I can't confirm all of that. I'm bringing it to you. And like I said, it's going to take a lot of time, maybe another year before Nick and his dad get through the court system, or longer, 2 years. And they'll finally be willing to tell Nick's side of the story. Hi, Better with the Irish. Hi, Parawoman. Yes. If Fancy hadn't started just making shit up, she'd have some credibility. I totally agree. Fancy came onto the scene with so much to say, lots of information that no one had heard before, and she had receipts, and she was very interesting to listen to, and then she just completely lost it, and that was unfortunate. That was just very unfortunate. I've made some videos about it. You can go back and look at them. I'm not trying to sway your opinion about her. You should make your own opinion about that situation, all right? But I do believe that now that we have several creators coming forward and talking about this, we can go forward with believing that this allegation may have some credibility. All right, let's take a listen.
No, let's get it straight.
So this is Fancy, all right? Fancy is making a video about Natasha talking about all of this. Fancy wants everyone to know, she wants all of us to know that she talked about this first. So she's just putting this video out there, and then we'll hear from Natasha.
Just for all you guys wondering, we're not joining forces. I simply was showing that if Natasha and I both say something happened, it probably happened.
Never thought this would happen.
In May of 2015, Gypsy Rose Blanchard told Nick Godejohn that...
All right. Now you can hear that the audio is really shitty with this, but I don't care because the information is so interesting. I just want to get it out there to you. It's a short clip. I had to listen to the same audio. It doesn't sound that great, but this is Natasha talking about Gypsy in her live stream, okay, and making this allegation. And then we have Fancy off to the side being a cartoon character kind of responding to it. Let's take a listen.
She had been pregnant with his female child, a daughter that he had always wanted, a daughter that he had spoken about frequently in their text messages. And she knew that one of his biggest desires in life was to have a daughter. Gypsy told him that she had gotten pregnant from their bathroom encounter at the movie theater in March.
You don't say.
She also told him that because he made her have her feeding tube changed, she miscarried. Gypsy needed Nick to
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Come here, buddy. Come here. I'm so sorry. I've got my little dog here crying because we have workers downstairs working on the ceiling. Okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be muted. What I wanted to say is that I am reviewing the fact that Gypsy Rose allegedly told Nick Godejohn that she was pregnant. Okay. All right. She was pregnant from the time that they met up with each other a few months before the murders. Okay. They met with each other a few months before the murders at a movie theater to watch some, I don't know, some Disney movie. And allegedly, they had some kind of a sexual interaction in the bathroom. Now, since then, there's been all kinds of allegations about how that sexual interaction was not actually intercourse. But of course, we don't know for sure what's going on with that. These are two young people trying to figure out their lives. And allegedly, Nick he was a virgin before he met Gypsy. So we can't be sure what happened, but according to this new allegation, Gypsy told Nick that from that encounter, she was pregnant, and not only pregnant, but that she had gotten pregnant with a baby girl. All right. So, of course, it would be too early to know any of this, but she told him that she was pregnant with a girl. And this is quite disturbing because Nick and Gypsy had really intense fantasies talking about having a baby girl. And many of you are aware that they had agreed that it would be okay with both of them for abuse to occur in that family. And it's incredibly disturbing to me that not only did she bring up to him that she was having this baby, but it's a girl, and like supposedly she's making this, dream come true. It's absolutely disturbing. And yet it's also a way that she's manipulating him. All right. So let's listen to the rest of it.
Hate Dee Dee. Because she knew that if he didn't, he would never go through with her plan to unalive her. When nothing else had worked to turn Nick against Dee Dee, she used the thought of Dee Dee unaliving his unborn child to make him finally hate her enough to follow through with the plan that Gypsy had come up with. To this day, Nick Godejohn still mourns the child that he thinks he lost. Anyone who knows anything about pregnancy and time frames knows that it is almost impossible to know the sex of a baby that early in a pregnancy.
Wow,
especially back then. The technology just wasn't there. Nick, not realizing that Gypsy wasn't a virgin, thought that everything she said was true. He even named the baby. And to this day, he mourns that child.
If Natasha and I agree on this, let me tell you this. It's fucking
Nick Godejohn did not get a fair trial.
No, he did not.
He deserves for the truth, the entire truth of this case.
Turn this back up. I'm turning off the volume when the video's on so you don't hear my little puppy crying. He just really wants to get downstairs and play with this guy who wants nothing to do with him. Okay. All right. So it's awful. It's absolutely awful. We understand that. For those of you who aren't aware, I thought it was widely known, but there are text messages between Gypsy and Nick in which they talk about having a child together, and they agree that it would be okay with both of them to abuse that child. It's really sad and horrific, and it's a terrible thought for all of us. There's a lot going on there with all of that. Once again, I've said many times over, Nick is clearly on the autism spectrum. Nick clearly needs intervention and help. Many people have said that Nick Godejohn did not have these kinds of fantasies. Now, I can't be sure about it, but many people have said that Nick Godejohn didn't have these kind of fantasies. He wasn't bringing them up. He wasn't talking about it until Gypsy came into his life and started talking about it. We have evidence that Gypsy had really, I would call them inappropriate relationships with men long before. Let me put this. Had inappropriate relationships with men long before Nick. She was dating older men, and she allegedly, had sexual interactions with them. And the interactions were such that it was like there's an older guy, there's a younger girl, and they're acting out that scenario. Now, for me, I believe this is just another way in which Gypsy Rose experienced abuse. I'm not coming on here to say like disgusting, Gypsy's insane, Nick's insane. And I know many people will feel that way. I feel like these are people who have been abused. They don't have the mental capacity to really think outside of this weird, incredibly disgusting fantasy that they're creating. They're so lonely that they're completely like enmeshed with one another. There's just so many facets to what's going on here that I cannot fully, state that they were actually going to carry out this act, that they were actually in a place where they really understood the significance of what they were saying to one another. But of course, it's horrific. Of course, we can all be grateful that Gypsy and Nick were caught. Can you imagine if they had just gone on to start a family and have children together? I can't imagine what kind of completely messed up family that would have been. And it reminds me of so many of the kids that I saw in the institution that I worked in for children who are child sex offenders. They come from families like with a parent like Nick and Gypsy. Come on, Spookly. It's okay. You don't need to cry about it. He's got things to do. He doesn't want to play. It's okay. Come here. It's okay. He doesn't like this either. He doesn't like what I'm talking about. It's awful. And I've tried to really put out there, and I know some people get mad at me about it, but the reality is I've worked with people and kids like this. Like I have put boots on the ground when it comes to actually working with child sex offenders. Okay. And what I have to say is that it's almost always the case. It's like 90-something% of the time when you have a child that is expressing this kind of desire to be inappropriate and offend against other children, almost always their family of origin was either abusive towards them or extremely inappropriate towards them. And there's these generational curses that are getting passed down. And I really think we see that in Gypsy's life. And I think with Nick, I'm going to be really honest with you. He's on the autism spectrum, which affected him. But I also think that rather than being, directly abused, I don't think that Nick got the intervention and the help that he needed to understand societal norms. He did not understand it. He would need intense therapy. He's not the kind of person that I'm like, let him out. No, he would need intense therapy that we haven't even fully perfected yet, but I've seen a lot of it perfected pretty well in Europe. You guys know I've lived abroad, and they're doing some really intensive studies with sex offenders over there, trying to help them and provide the real type of therapy that can ensure that they would be safer on the outside. Now, once again, I'm not a proponent of letting sex offenders out, but I do believe that we need to understand more about how they are created and how we can help them and how we can come forward and try to create an environment in which if someone has this kind of predilection, that they have somewhere to go before they offend. That's very unpopular to say. Most of you will be like, this is just gross. I want nothing to do with it. But because I've been there and I've seen these children who have been offended against, we're talking about kids 6 years old who have offended against their siblings and are now living in a state-run facility for child sex offenders. To me, it's like, the adult that offended against them, if we could have had some kind of program that maybe that adult could have walked into and said, I'm having these feelings. I don't know why. I know it's sick. I want help. Then maybe that child wouldn't have been offended against and he wouldn't have offended against his sibling. There's just so much going on there. that I really want to say that it's not just about punishing and hating and being disgusted by these people. There is some level of like, what can we do to stop this before it starts? That's a big deal for me. Okay, so I've put out there, I thought most of you were aware. No sound. There's sound, right? You guys can hear me. I think you guys can hear me. Let me see what people are saying. Yeah, I had a few children on my caseload that offended against their siblings because a boyfriend or someone did it against them, 100%. And so what I saw in this facility is that if the child had not been offended against, what they did have happen is they would be in a situation where their family of origin was incredibly inappropriate. So it wasn't specifically like a sexual offense was against them, but their family of origin may have been a family that didn't, it could be like both parents had autism or they were intellectually impaired and they would watch pornography in front of the child. So that wasn't considered an actual act against the child, but it had created a completely inappropriate view of the world at a very young age. So these kinds of things, they happen and they're terrible. I'm sure you can hear that. There's a big sound in the background. But, so this is something that Gypsy and Nick were talking about in their fantasies. And I'm very grateful that they never were able to go forward and start a family together. Thank God. Okay, let me finish watching the rest of this.
To be heard.
Yes, ma'am.
I do not feel that he needs to be out in the public.
No.
I do feel that he needs extensive psychiatric treatment
Yes.
before even a thought of his release should happen. But he deserves to have a fair trial.
Amen.
Because he did not get that in Springfield,
No, he did
Missouri.
not.
Okay, can you guys hear the buzzing in the background? I'm sorry if it's annoying. I might cut this short, but okay, so we have both of these creators, Fancy and Natasha, coming forward and making the statement that they have heard in the background that Nick was told that Gypsy was pregnant. She was pregnant with his child from the first encounter they had at the movie theater, and that it was a baby girl. And that eventually Gypsy miscarried the baby. And the reason why was because she told Dee Dee she did not want to have her Mickey, like her tubing replaced for her feeding tube. And Dee Dee said, too bad you're having it replaced. And the replacement caused her to miscarry. All right. I know that right before the murders, Gypsy was supposed to go into the hospital and actually have a surgery done to like correct the feeding tube, but the actual replacement of the Mickey would not cause a miscarriage in the first place. It would be, that's not something that would happen. But I mean, there's a lot of indication that it's highly likely Gypsy was lying about this. And the reason being that she wanted to manipulate Nick into hating her mother. All right. I'm going to show you some of the texts I have up here that I found. These are texts, Facebook messages from Nick to his friends. He's talking to them about Gypsy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Ooh, this is the wrong one. Let me pull this up. Okay. Let me share a different video file that will show you. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so many people have been talking on Reddit about how Nick has several messages that were presented in court, messages that he was sending out on Facebook about how he did not want to go forward with Gypsy's plan to unalive her mother. Okay, so this person writes, Nick didn't want to. He reached out for advice or help. Okay, there's these Facebook transcripts between him and a friend he refers to as sis. Okay, this isn't a sister, but he kind of thinks of her as a sister and she's a close friend. Her name is redacted to protect her in these messages. So these messages were submitted prior to the court and her name was redacted. She was planning to kill her mom before the movie theater. Gypsy was planning to kill her mom before the movie theater. She changed her mind, and she and Nick agreed to try the meeting first, but that didn't work out. Nick told his friend he didn't want to have to go through with this plan, but he would as a last resort to save her because she told him how abusive her mom was. It's worth noting that if it was truly about escaping abuse, it wouldn't have made any difference if her mom liked Nick or not. That right there clearly means it was about whether or not Dee Dee was going to allow her to date. If she was truly trying to flee torture, she wouldn't have been okay with leaving Dee Dee alive as long as she got to have a boyfriend. It just doesn't make sense. So that's this person's opinion. But as we go on, we'll see some of these messages that Nick sent to his friend. All right. So Nick says to the friend that Gypsy has changed her plan because Dee Dee has decided that she doesn't like Nick. And so the friend says, okay, who changed their mind? I am really confused now. And he says, Gypsy did. The friend says, okay, about killing her mom. Come here, buddy. It's okay. We only have a few more minutes. And Nick says, yes, she said she wants to see how our original plan goes first with me meeting her and her mom and such. And I guess she only wanted to do it as a last resort, sis. And the friend says, so I guess, then Nick says, so I guess I'll be meeting her and her mom still first before the idea was ever to happen. And the friend says, okay. And Nick says, yeah, sis, I have to ask you something. How crazy do you think Gypsy is? You won't hurt my feelings or anything. I really want to know, though, since I obviously can tell she is. I just can't seem to put in words how crazy I think she is. So here we have Nick. He's going to someone. I find this really interesting because Nick is a young man with autism. All right. He apparently has this one close friend, and it's kind of like he's in a state of like, I don't know what to think about this. I'm starting to feel like I need help to figure this out. And I actually think that's a big step for someone on the autism spectrum to be able to come forward and ask for help like this from another person. And unfortunately, I don't feel like this person really intervenes in the way that she could have. I'm not putting it on her. I mean, maybe she just thought this was all some kind of a silly fantasy. But she says, well, I don't know how to put it into words either, but I will be honest. I would not ever kill my mom or anyone else unless they tried to kill me first. Okay, that makes sense. But she didn't say, no one should be killing anyone. Let's stop. Don't do this. She was not a good friend in that way. So Nick says, yeah, I know. I suppose situations change people, though, to where others are willing to do things that other people aren't. And obviously, my mom, even though she has been hard on me overall, she's been a very good mother to me. So I couldn't ever do it to her. And the only reason I can understand it with her mom, with Gypsy's mom, is because of how unreasonably poor her mom treats her. But since it is a last resort, who knows? Maybe it won't even happen. And the girl says, yeah, I suppose. So, it's kind of big to me to see that Nick, as a person with these kinds of disabilities, was reaching out, hoping that someone could help him. And the person, they just really weren't in the place to be able to say, no, Nick, let's get you some help. Let's go talk to someone about this. I mean, he was trying to figure out, like, this is someone who you can tell, like, his mind is just not there to be able to fully wrap himself around the situation and see that something is really wrong here. And he's asking other people for help. And I've said this from the beginning. I don't necessarily believe that Nick Godejohn was in a horribly abusive family, but I do think that he was in a family that didn't offer him intervention and help. And someone on the autism spectrum, they need to have at least some intervention to understand more about societal norms, why they're present, what they are, and, how to interact with people in normal society. And I think what was happening for Nick, we see this a lot. And I have to say, I'm guilty of this with my own kids. I believe that Nick's family was like, we don't know what to do with him, and we're too busy just trying to survive so he can just be on the computer all day. And that's what happened. I have seen this with my own children when we go through a move, that I get very much like, just grab your iPad. And I have to say that it changes their brain chemistry. Like for the period of time after we've moved, I see that I really have to work with them to bring them back to the real world, to especially like indicate, things about social norms to them, because online everybody interacts in such a different way. And so we've got Nick, this person who's already has this predisposition to not understanding the world around him, who's just spending all day online, and that's becoming the norm for him. It's just, he was not really given an opportunity, the opportunities that a lot of other people get because their parents are more involved. And I think that if Gypsy did tell Nick the lie that she was pregnant and that Dee Dee contributed to the death of their daughter, I mean, I think that that is something that should have been discussed in the court. Once again, I'm not someone who thinks that Nick should get out of jail. I believe that he went in there with a lot of problems, and I'm sure those problems have been horribly exacerbated by living in a small cell around people who have even worse problems than he does. I don't want him out on the street living next door to my child. I mean, I totally understand all of that. I'm there with so many of you when it comes to that. And yet, I don't believe he deserves to live the same kind of situation. He doesn't deserve to be punished in the same way that other people are who don't have his kind of, first off, disabilities, but then also being on the spectrum, because those can be two separate things. But for sure, it was very frustrating to see that his appeal was denied, and that he's going to have to go forward in the court system. I think we all pretty much expected that. I have to be really honest with you. I don't expect to see Nick ever get help. That's the truth. And that's the way the system works. I think that he'll continue to go through this appeals process. Everything will be turned down. He's never going to get a second look at his case. He's never going to get the help that he needs. I do think that the one thing he can potentially look forward to, and this is sad, but it's true, is that when this is all done, he can do some kind of a book or a series like Gypsy did through the prison, like do an interview with Dr. Phil or whatever. His family will get some money, and then they can start sending some of that money to him in prison so that he can get commissary and stuff like that. But I never foresee him getting out or getting the help that he needs. Our system, our prison system is really broken. That's true for sure. And it's unfortunate. Now, I do hope that Bobby Godejohn continues to fight for his son and, do everything that he can do for him. But past experiences have told me that this case is probably not going to go anywhere. Right. I think most of us feel the same. All right. So I wanted to share this with you guys today. I think it's pretty shocking. I will let you know if I come across any more information, something that debunks this or something that, supports it even more so. I don't know how many of you have been following my new rabbit hole. If you guys are interested in Gypsy Rose, you will be shocked by what is going on with Grant Amato. I'm going to show you, because a lot of people don't have the time to watch the videos. I'm going to show you a snippet from my last video. I mean, this is shocking. So there are 3 episodes that just came out. I'm getting them through Amazon. It's through Paramount. So if you have Paramount, you can watch it. But I go on Amazon to get it. And I think I just pay like $1.99 per episode or something like that. Let me go through here. Okay. And then let me go here. All right. And I am in total shock about what is going on with, let me bring this up. I'm just going to show you some clips because there's 3 episodes. I've only gone over the first episode on my channel so far, but I also have a lot of other things on my channel about Grant Amato. I have this interview with his prison girlfriend that it's insane. But the 3rd episode of this docuseries is shocking. I mean, if you've ever been the kind of person who's like, there's no ending, like, I don't understand, we don't really get to know what's going on. There's no they're not really wrapping it up. This 3rd episode is the end of this case. we are provided with shocking information. It completely changes the way that I think and feel about Grant Amato. All along, I've been saying to myself, this could be a guy with like severe depression, bipolar disorder. Like I just had all these thoughts in my head about what was going on with him. And this last episode proves to me that we are dealing with a true and disgusting psychopath. You should watch this. The turns that this case has taken, it's crazy. And I'm kind of shocked that more people aren't aware of it. I've had a lot of people come to my channel saying like, I've always been into this case. I've been keeping up with it for so long. Well, if you're someone who knows everything about the case, you do not know what Grant is going to share in this docuseries, these 3 episodes. Let me share just like a couple of clips with you. I need people to talk to about this because it's crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, of course, I don't pay for YouTube, so we'll have to watch this.
You'll look better. In a month, you'll have a toned body.
I won't because I won't do it. Okay, skip things like get together and party.
What I love about
no
is there's no guessing in the measurements. Everything's
Grant Amato's. Okay, let's go back a little bit. All right, I was completely shocked by this docuseries. Let's look at a couple of the clips.
I'd definitely say that Cody was the love of my life. Him and I were so compatible together. He's that person that I could always turn to in both happiness and sadness, and I knew that he was always going to be there for me.
What? Okay, if you're not aware, Grant and Cody are brothers, and Grant killed his brother Cody. And in this docuseries, he talks about Cody in... Okay, if you're not aware, Grant and Cody are brothers, okay? And Grant murdered his brother. Okay, he murdered his brother, all right? And in this docuseries, he talks about Cody as if he literally says, we were meant to be together. He was going to be my significant other and we were going to live together forever. He uses the term significant other. He also goes on to talk about how when he created an avatar online, he made it an amalgamation of himself and Cody. He's like, I put Grant and Cody together. I used Cody's success, his brother's success, and Grant, he keeps talking about himself in the third person, and I used Grant's social abilities. So he's talking about how he has this amazing social ability. I mean, his delusional idea of what the world is really like is so incompatible with what's really happening. And that's what makes this completely fascinating. Let's watch a little bit more because I have been completely shocked about what's going on with Grant Amato. Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. Oh my God. Run, don't walk to watch Grant Amato's new docuseries, Control plus Alt plus Desire. It's a ridiculous name, but it's available on Amazon. It's through Paramount, and there are some shocking allegations being made in this docuseries. Many of you have come to my channel and you've left comments, Case, I know everything about it. Well, the stuff that's being released in this docuseries is new. It's different. It's shocking. More dysfunction, like intense family dysfunction. Okay, I see a lot of people saying, are you going to do a deep dive on Christy Blanchard? Yes, I have been working on this deep dive for weeks now. I have a whole chart, crazy, I mean, it's not very professional, but I've made a whole chart. Yes, I have been working on a deep dive about Christy Blanchard for weeks now, guys. Okay. I've made charts about who's interacting with who, all the fights that they've had. I plan to call this video The Toxic Web of Christy Blanchard. It's going to take a look at all the different people that she's been using through social media to create a social media empire for Gypsy and for her family. And it is going to be a pretty big video. I'm not ready to put it out yet, and it may take some time before I get there. I am a little bit focused on this case, and I also have a lot of things going on in the background that I can't really talk about yet. So, but yes, I will be putting something out eventually. Please, check back in for that. We're looking at some pretty severe mental health issues with Grant I didn't realize were going on. The
that point. So Grant and Cody appeared to be attached at the hip. They had the same professional goals. They had the same educational goals. They had the same car goals. I mean, these were people that were totally twinsies at that point.
I mean, isn't it okay? Is it not completely cringe to hear someone say they were twinsies? These two men, I had to go back and look at their ages. Grant was 29 and Cody was 31. They still lived at home in their childhood bedrooms in their parents' house with no thought or plan for the future to move out. Their enmeshment with each other was so extreme and ridiculous. And the way that Grant talks about it in this docuseries is shocking. We've never heard this before. We've never heard him come out. I mean, he is like, he was my significant other. He was my everything. He would have given up everything for me. The lengths to which he goes to describe their relationship has just completely thrown me for a loop. And this is episode 1. Episode 3, the final episode, is the real shocker. But let's listen to a little bit more. Yeah, that's the main problem still in childhood bedrooms. I actually was looking at some pictures of their bedrooms. They have like all their anime stuff up. I mean, they still were living like kids. But the relationship that Grant feels he has towards Cody is sick and disturbing. I know, it's like massive cringe and massive sadness, right? Okay, we're actually starting in the middle of episode 1 because this, all right, I want to pause this for you because it's something I don't really talk about in the video. Okay, take a look here. This is from Facebook. This account is called Remedy Headquarters. You guys, this place, Remedy Headquarters, is actually a gun club, a firearms club, and firearms enthusiast type of club that was created by Grant Amato. He is one of the founders, and these guys here were all involved in the club. They're all friends. Of course, we see Grant and Cody. This other guy is Blake, and I'm not sure if the other one is Jericho, but they're all common friends. You can see that this is like a time capsule available on Facebook. When you go and take a look at Remedy Headquarters, you see Cody commenting. He's commenting here, it was hot and sweaty out there, but maybe you're right. I mean, these are people like talking back and forth to one another. We see Blake talking back and forth to Cody. I actually don't see a lot of Grant. I actually see a lot of interaction between Cody and all of the guys, and Grant is not interacting as much with all of them. Cody is the one in the middle with the tie. I'm sorry. Grant is the one in the middle with the tie. Cody is on the side. Okay? Grant is the one in the middle. Grant is always cheesy. I think Grant thinks, look at this picture. I think Grant thinks that he's being extremely social and outgoing and everybody loves him. And that his brother, Cody, off to the side, is the more reserved one. But what's actually happening, in my opinion, is that Cody was always acting like a dick. And some people were into it and some people weren't. I have a lot of video of Cody just being, I mean, the whole group hanging out together. They're playing video games. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And they are incredibly cringy. I'm going to do another video deep diving into the social media aspect of it and show all of these videos of these guys. I mean, they're young. They're 19, 20. So I get it. And hopefully many of them grew up to be totally different from this. But when they are together in these videos, you're like, these are not the kind of kids I would want my daughter to date. I never would have been around guys like this. They're talking about, shooting different things. They're really competitive about ridiculous video games. They're just in a place of fantasy. And hopefully all the other guys grew out of it, but Grant didn't. Grant is, still in prison. He still has this cringy, disgusting, cheesy grin. Watch the docuseries. You guys will be shocked. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more. This is so crazy. I had to put this part out to you first. All right. A part of what Grant goes into in episode 1 of this docuseries is how close he felt to his brother Cody. I find this really interesting because actually when he gave the interview, okay, you can take a look here. This is from Blake Turpin's Facebook page. Okay, I'm not going to, shield out his name because he testified in the trial, so everyone knows who he is. He was a close friend of Grant and Cody. This is Cody, I believe. Yeah, Cody actually responds here. He says, the best I got was second. This is some picture and video of them heading off to some kind of like Disney gaming conference that they went to. And there's a bunch of video of it as well. In the videos, they're all being like highly competitive towards one another. But Grant really specifically stands out as being an asshole in the videos. But their common like thread of everything that they do together in all of their social media is hanging out and shooting things. They are so into guns. That's like their main common thread. They also, all their video games are about like shooting. And it's just something that all of them are very involved in. And I think you'll see, if you watch this entire episode, which I'm not going to show all of it here, but if you watch this entire video that I put out, it also comes to light that Grant's family was spending thousands of dollars on ammunition and guns. I mean, he had one gun that was like $8,000. Grant, the 29-year-old who didn't have a job and spent $200,000 on a Bulgarian cam model, had a gun that was $8,000. He ended up selling all of his guns after he lost his job so he could make some money. And it was a significant amount of money. When he was arrested by police, and I've gone through that in my earlier videos. He talked about how he and Cody did not get along for a lot of their life until they got into high school, and that's when they became very close. He described it as a much more typical brotherly relationship before then, that the two of them would fight. They cared about each other, but they were in kind of competition. Right. I thought it was weird that when Grant gave his original testimony when he was interrogated, he wasn't so much like, Cody was my everything, my significant other. That's what he says in the docuseries. But in his interrogation, he's like, we were very close and Cody was very good to me. But he also says that growing up, we didn't get along. We were like normal brothers. We fought with each other. And yet now things have changed so much. They were like meant to be. And Cody says in the docuseries, we were soulmates. It is incredibly cringy to me, and they do look very much alike, but I really think something inappropriate was going on in this family, in the family system. It's not right. Something is not right here. How do I do this? This small. Okay, let's go a little bit forward, and I really need to point that out because Cody makes it look like both Cody and Grant were dealing with, in my opinion, OCD, that the two of them were very enmeshed with one another, and that there were some severe mental health issues going on here as well. Okay, so I want to say this was my opinion when I watched the first episode. I had not watched the second two episodes. By the end of episode 3, I'm like flat out, Grant is a psychopath. He's a psychopath. You need to see episode 3. Yes, so I've brought this up before. Grant and Cody went on a trip to Japan shortly before the murders. And Cody, the older brother, the successful brother, paid $10,000 per person. He paid for both of them to go because Grant didn't have any money. And it's always been put out there, and I think it's very true, that Cody made it clear he had no expectations of ever being paid back, that he cared so much about his brother and was so sad for what happened to his brother that he had no expectations of being paid back for it. Now we're gonna, in this episode, in episode 1, something that shocked me is that Grant finally comes forward with the truth about getting kicked out of school. Because in the interrogation and in the trial, we keep hearing that Grant, he left the CRNA program and Cody went on, and that's why Cody became successful, because he became a CRNA. But Grant left the program, and everybody's just like, he just left. He just wasn't into it. I always said that makes 0 sense. He didn't leave that program. Something happened because he's clearly resentful. He clearly does not want to be just a nurse. That's kind of where this all starts. He's unhappy with his life. He says, I'm making $50,000, $60,000 as a nurse a year. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get by on that. He's clearly depressed about where he is in life. So you cannot tell me, you cannot make me believe that he just left the program because he wasn't into it. And in this episode, we find out what truly happened with that program. I mean, it's insane. Well as an inappropriate entanglement between the two brothers.
I always thought that Cody would be my significant other, so to speak, where no matter where we went, we would always be together and we would do everything together.
Yes. Yes. You heard that correctly. You heard that correctly. He always believed that Cody would be his significant other, and they would be together forever. Okay. I want to say here, like, a lot of people have close relationships with their siblings. Okay, you can see here, this is Grant Amato's Facebook. Now, I took a screenshot of this because I wanted to show it. It's very interesting to me. I mean, look at the way that he presents himself. It's picture after picture of just him, usually with guns. And then this picture really gets me, the one that's towards the middle, where he's dressed in a suit and he's just looking like at a Rolex on his arm. That is the perfect representation of who he is. So we've got this guy living at home, never lived away from his family in his entire life, totally dependent upon his parents, like infatuated with his own brother, but he takes a picture of himself with his Rolex, like, I mean, he's ridiculous. And I mean, that's clear, that's evident. But once again, I was really along the lines of thinking this guy has these other mental health issues. I didn't realize how psychopathic he was. That really comes out in episode 3. I have siblings. We have a big difference, a big age gap. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there who are much closer to their siblings. This is a video I found. It's a video that Grant and Cody took when they were in Japan. I have that up in one of my other videos. It's pretty crazy. They're traveling all throughout Japan. And to me, you can really see in this video how skinny and tired and just crazy-eyed Grant looks. But still, this level, this rhetoric about your brother, number one, but also your brother who you murdered, is creepy. It's effing creepy. Like, so that's really creepy. But you know what's even creepier is if you go back to my video where I have the interview with his prison girlfriend. That is creepy. I believe his prison girlfriend may also be dealing with some psychopathic behaviors as well. The prison girlfriend admits to injuring and unaliving animals as a child. She admits to having an addiction to trying to get with murderers who are in prison. That's kind of like her thing. It's just insane. All right, let's read. I'm gonna do a little bit more and then I'll let you guys go. It's out of this world, mind-blowing. Like, why do you not see how delusional about Grant talking to his brother, what he has to say? I thought it was a joke. This is something I really want you guys to see. You will not believe what's going on here, okay? Listen to this. This is new. It's shown in this docuseries and I've never heard it before. Buddy, you are just fine. My little guy is always upset when people come over and they won't play with him. He just cries and cries about it. Okay, so this video is a video that's never been released before, and it's available on the docuseries. It's a video that Grant made on his phone before the murders, like a couple of weeks, maybe a month before the murders. And he's basically making this video for his older brother, Cody, to tell him that he wants Cody to send $50,000 to an undisclosed bank account. And he really needs Cody to just trust him and do it and believe in him. I mean, when I first saw the video, I thought it was a joke. So let's listen to a little bit more. I thought it was a joke at first, but as we get further into the episode, we realize it's not a joke. So let's listen to a little bit of that.
Cody, you have to do this. With every fiber of your being, you have to do this. And protect my things. Don't let them be infiltrated, please. There's not anything hidden.
Do you believe me when I say that this is more cuckoo than we ever realized before? A lot of these things didn't come out in the trial. This is a video that's going to get brought up time and time again in this docuseries. Again, run, don't walk to watch it because there's so much going on here. All right, I'll pause it here. I really want to talk to you guys about it. Like, I know there's about 500, 600 people who are watching this on my channel, but I want to get even more people involved because this is insane. This is like a deeper rabbit hole than so many of the things that we've talked about before. And I really like it because to me, it has a conclusion. When we get to episode 3, we're really done with the case. I think it solves a lot of the questions that I have about what's going on with Grant Amato, what happened with this family. I would like to know a little bit more about what things were like when they were growing up. I have a theory now, after watching all 3 episodes. I don't want to give away everything, but I have a theory now that Grant was always a weirdo. Like that he was a kid who didn't necessarily fit onto the autism spectrum, but that he was doing and saying things as a kid that made his parents and his brother recognize that something was off, something was weird, something was wrong with him. There are kids like this. I've definitely been around them. I've definitely been a nurse to children like this, especially in places like the facility that I worked in for child sex offenders. I mean, we definitely have had situations where parents come in and they're like, there was just always something really off. He was, I mean, for example, unaliving animals when he was younger. Like we really tried, to help him, but something was always off. This is the feeling that I really get now about Grant Amato. I believe that it hasn't come out because there's no surviving family members that lived with him. The only person surviving is Jason, who's significantly older and he doesn't want to talk about it. I've reached out to him. But I believe that Grant was always, something was always off, and that was part of the reason. Because a big question for me is like, why did the parents continue to support him? Why did Cody continue to support him? And I'm willing to bet that they always knew and felt that something was wrong with Grant and they were trying to help him along in life. It's like when you have that one child who maybe has some kind of a disability, like you have one child who has like really severe dyslexia, and you just have this thought in your mind, you just find yourself constantly like propping that child up a lot more than maybe the others. You constantly excuse that child's behavior just because you see that their life is more of a struggle. I believe that that may have been what was going on with Grant. I think that his perception of his family, his perception of Cody, it's off, and that their perception of him was like he was someone who needed help, and that's why they were kind of treating him like a baby, because that's how they saw him. They thought something was wrong with him. Something is weird. We got to carry him along in life. We got to help him out in life. And it led to a place where he was given so much support, so much leeway, that he eventually unalived his entire family. Please check it out. I want to talk to you guys about it. Okay. Pamela, I agree there's something about him that is strange, for sure. Originally, I started to wonder if he was on, once again, the autism spectrum. I always kind of look for that. And I've come to feel that that's not the case at all. His brother actually gave him $7,000 in cash to talk. Okay, Pamela, that is what Grant said. Okay, but in the trial, my understanding has always been that no one gave Grant $7,000 in cash in Japan. What happened was that Grant stole the credit card of Cody's best friend, Jericho. You can see that in my videos. Jericho was there with them. Grant stole Jericho's credit card and took it to the internet cafe and was using it. And that's when Cody and Jericho found him. And Cody did try to give some money to make up for the money that was taken off the credit card. He was like, I'm going to pay you back, Jericho, whatever. I know that in this documentary, Grant makes a big deal about, no, Cody sat with me and gave me $7,000 to talk to Sylvie. I don't believe that that's the case, because in the trial, Jericho testifies and says that his credit card was stolen while they were in Japan and used by Cody to talk to Sylvie. So in my telling of the docuseries, I let you know that a lot of things in the docuseries are very slanted towards Grant. It's like what Grant is telling them, but that's not what other people are saying happened. Jericho said that Grant stole his credit card and used it to, like, Grant, this is the other thing. On the Japan trip, according to Jericho and Cody already knew that something was really wrong with Grant. Jericho didn't know exactly what it was, but Cody had told him, we need to keep an eye on Grant. We can't let him out of our sight. That was from the beginning of the trip. They had to stay with him. Whenever like Cody would go to do something, he'd be like, Jericho, make sure you watch Grant. And what ended up happening is that one time Jericho and Grant were left alone while Cody went to go get some food for them or whatever in the hotel. And when he came back, Grant was missing. And Cody was like, where is he? What's going on? And Grant just disappeared for hours. They were supposed to do sightseeing. They were supposed to go somewhere, and they had to cancel all that to go look for him. They didn't know what was wrong. They find him at an internet cafe. He has stolen Jericho's credit card, and he has used it to pay to speak to the cam girl. Oh my God, Pamela, 100% lazy and spoiled. This family had a lot of money. I believe the father had some mental health issues, probably, and that, some of this trickled down into what was going on with Grant. So I do think that Grant in this docuseries is telling things the way he wants it to be told, and they're not always fact checking it. Right. Let me just scroll up and see if there's anything else we can respond to. Oh, yeah. So Wing Beats already says at the same time he was stealing credit cards to talk to Sylvie. Yeah, he stole the credit cards of his family, but I thought it was insane that they're in Japan. His brother has spent $10,000 for him to go on this trip, and he steals his brother's best friend's credit card. And when you hear people like Jericho and Blake and all these people talk about their relationships, it's clear that everybody loved Cody and that Grant was just someone who was there. Grant's perception of what was going on is just not accurate. J. Marie says, well, now I have another interesting road to take. Oh, yes. Please check out this story, J. Marie. Please. I want more people. Yeah, he has a surviving half brother. Pamela says his name is Jason, and Jason is not into talking about this. Jason has not spoken to Grant since he went to prison. He wants nothing to do with it. And I think Grant really hates Jason. That's something I'm going to go into later on as I go further into the series. Oh, Teresa, I'm glad you're here. This is my buddy, Teresa. The name of thank you so much, Better with the Irish. The name of the docuseries is Control plus Alt plus Desire. It's ridiculous. You can also just put in Grant Amato in Amazon, and I think it comes up. I really hate the name of it. Okay. Grant looks older because he is balding. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Grant was just crazy. Jericho, you know Jericho pretty well, huh? Wing Beats. Jericho was a friend who was very involved with these two guys, and he's moved on in his life. I found him on Facebook. He has a family now, and he's doing pretty well. Okay. I like this too. Pamela says, I watched the entire Grant Amato docuseries last night. The relationship he had with Cody was extremely strange. His family were enablers, and his addictions, 100%. They did not deserve what happened, though. Oh, for sure. And especially, obviously his parents didn't deserve it, but it makes me so sad and angry about Cody. When you watch episode 3, you're just blown away by what Grant has to say. His response to what happened, why it happened. I had been hearing all along that Grant was maintaining his innocence. So I was really shocked by episode 3. And for a while, because episode 2 wasn't as interesting to me, I was like, God, they're drawing this out forever. There's not even going to be any good ending. And then when the ending hit, I was like, no, this is one of the only docuseries where they solved the question. They solved the question that all of us have. Oh, yeah. Okay, Teresa says, I won't watch the docuseries because I don't have the stream. I know. I'm sorry. It's only available on Amazon right now and Paramount. I so wish I could just pay for it, upload it so everyone could see it. But I've tried doing that in the past, and it's like a whole copyright thing, and they take it down. So I am trying to put out my videos for people who aren't able to watch it. But watching it is amazing. Hopefully, eventually it'll be free because you've got to see this. It's crazy. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I appreciate all of you. I'm so sorry that I had trouble with turning my mic off and on and the puppy running around, but I'm glad to see all of you. And I hope you will go ahead and check out the Cody and Grant Amato case. And I look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Oh, you do have Amazon, Teresa. Check it out because episode 1 is free. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you again soon. Bye.